I will call the meeting of the Angola Investment Fund Board meeting into order at 1600 Eastern. We'll move to roll call. Maria?
Here.
Sandy?
Here.
Kyle?
Here.
Mark? Jerry? And Andy's the acting chair. We also have Retha in the room. If you would take a look at the minutes from the meeting on February the 18th, it was submitted in your packet and would entertain a motion for approval.
Motion.
We have a motion. We have a motion and a second to approve as presented. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the minutes as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. All right, the motion is carried. All right, we do have a quorum that has been confirmed. So we'll move on to old business. Any update for this group on Project Terminal?
I do not believe so. They have done their closing, came and got everything, and we're very, very grateful when they picked up their check, talked about what they were going to be able to do, offered for anybody, to ever set up a time if they wanted to go through the plant, talk to them. So that was, I think, a great one for us to do. They were very excited, and so I think that it was a good one for us to take on for sure.
Wonderful. Anything else from the group on
And
that
you
particular
have
topic?
that
Yes,
regarding that if you want to.
the schedule on the,
Yes.
yep, in the packet. Yes, sir.
Tell me again, start to finish, was it longer than we would have liked?
I would say longer than experienced in the past. That would be my impression of it.
Yeah, and you guys, that was my first one. So, but I think that, I think from the time they made contact to actually getting to closing, there was some time frame in there, but there was also some transition with Jerry taking over and just some things that I think normally that should not take that long.
When it started, it was during the holiday too. So it was like November and then December, we didn't meet.
Yeah.
Something happened in there and we pushed it to the next. They weren't necessarily in a hurry either, I don't think, from their standpoint.
Yeah. But I do
would agree
believe,
it was a little long.
yeah, it just seemed like a little long because if you were coming in like I'm using this for a new line, or I've got to get inventory, or if you're using it for something, we need to move a little faster than that. But
As being an owner, I would have been extremely frustrated with the pace of the move through. Luckily, they were very patient, because the next time we may not have a patient.
yeah,
Patient.
Yes.
right.
Yeah. I would definitely agree with that. And one of the items on the agenda here today from an old business perspective is that standard work development for what those processes look like after this has been approved by this board. So I think that could fix a component of the tail of the issue. But I do believe from what you're saying as well, even before that, there may have been some opportunities for us to standardize some work and get it in sooner.
Yeah, I think so. And I would add that Sandy's correct. If you're an owner and it's about opening your business or doing so, now that we have changed that criteria to allow the retail and commercial, not just industry. I think industry sometimes can be a little more patient, but if you are using that to invest in, you're opening your business, then, and I think that as we really move toward letting that people know that that's happening now, that we have changed our criteria a little bit on who can get it, I think that people are going to be much more active. So yes, to your point, changing in that workflow is a good.
And having something, quite frankly, that survives all of us and our participation on this board, I think is another thing that we've learned from this, is that you've seen these faces have changed. Now we've got work to be done. We didn't have the benefit of some of the history. So we need this documented out a little bit better.
I agree.
Yeah.
You never know when that might happen again, you know?
You don't. So, yeah, but it's the point we're taking, Sandy. All right, anything else on Project Terminal? Not, we'll move on. Yes.
I just want to know, have you heard anything or?
He asked me, I have not since we saw them. Were you here for the closing?
Yes.
Okay, so we saw them there, but I have not. And I thought about, I know that they offered for any of us to come and we're real grateful for that. So I thought maybe we need to just touch base and see the schedule is here. Copy in your packet,
Yes.
but I think that we need to,
Okay.
yeah, stop and know.
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah,
So definitely there's that component of let's stop in and how you doing. We can put that into somewhat of our post-loan work as well.
Yes.
We also need to keep in mind as a group that we do typically ask them to come back and present in usually like an executive session, whether that's appropriate or not, their financial position as they move forward. So there's been in the past a routine ask for them to come back in and talk to us about the advancement of the project, what they use the money for,
Oh, really?
and how their financial position has been.
how long do you usually wait for that?
Well, it was typically what I would see would be like each year they would come back at least once
Okay.
during that time frame. That's what we've done with previous applicants. So we keep that on our radar.
Yeah,
So maybe before first of the year, first of the next calendar year.
yeah. Have them
Have
come
them
back
back.
and see. And I think it wouldn't hurt for even just a phone call in
Mhm.
between that,
Absolutely.
just touching base and
Absolutely.
I will say, and Isaac noted on his email that they've been really focused on their business retention meetings, going into different industries in the area. And he has been mentioning this
Good.
frequently to those business retention meetings. But he has really, they've been very intentional about that as part of, what they've always done. But we've got some great feedback at those meetings too. So that's been a really good
Yeah.
thing for the mayor and I usually try to go, and it's just been a good information.
Can we, I'm sorry, but could we open those meetings up to AIF folks too,
The business retention.
if they're available?
I don't know, that's
I meant
good.
Isaac's tours,
Mhm.
Isaac tours.
Yeah, I would think so. I don't know why they wouldn't. So sometimes they will talk about just some confidential things with their business, maybe struggles or just what they're looking for, whatever. But I would think that knowing that you're on that board and affiliated with the city and there for looking at, but it's always open to councilmen.
Right,
So I don't know why we couldn't open it up if somebody.
yeah.
Was
And I
wanting
found
to
out
tag
that
along.
also.
Yeah, it would be a good question to ask Isaac
Okay.
or Mike Landrum what they thought about that. But yeah,
Just make it
absolutely.
available if anyone would have.
Yeah,
But you could be our liaison.
Our representative.
I
You
could do
could come
that.
back and give us a little update.
I'd be happy to do
there
that.
you go.
Anything for you, Sandy, and the group.
The other thing, not to get off, you are putting some sunblock on your face when you're mowing.
Yes,
It looks like it.
it look pretty red.
Yes.
Oh, well, I hustled to get here.
It's just because you ran up the stairs.
That's
All right.
Elevator.
Okay. Back to it. Anything else on Project Terminal? All right, we'll move on to the status of the ordinance update. So last time we met, again, we discussed the ordinance and needing to clean up the membership component and maybe some other items in there.
I remember looking at it when we talked about some of the changes, but I have not reviewed that really well. Let me mark that down. I don't know if Isaac looked at it.
The definite components that need to be addressed in that are the seats that exist for this particular board, because we still have Elevate Ventures on there as retaining a seat.
Oh.
That needs to be
Was
To
I
me,
at that
that's,
meeting? I wasn't at the last meeting, I don't think.
we talked about it.
Okay.
I believe I sent you the ordinance again to take a look at with the markup or
Okay.
the changes that were made. So let me know if you don't have that and I
Yeah,
can send
I
that
will
back
look.
again. But just procedurally to make sure that we're
Okay.
all in alignment, there's the political affiliation component, which I think is good. But there may be some procedures we need to put into place to make sure that stays in place. The big thing is the seats and what role you're filling, that sort of thing. So,
Read it
Okay.
here and get, so the seats that are listed.
okay. Any more on that? Move on to the next topic. And you kind of have given us, Rita, an update on the marketing material and plan development, which Isaac gave to us as well when he emailed us all today about not being able to be here. So sounds like you guys have spoken. There may be an opportunity for the EDC to lend their marketing person
Yes.
to us.
And that's why, Isaac, we talked a little bit about, they were looking good and they're easy to hand out when we are, at those meetings, that cardboard. It was just, I don't know if you guys remember the size, but, so we've talked about what do we want that to look like? How do we get across some of the new information, but not make it too wordy that people look at it and like, yeah, there's way too much on that. So do we do, QR codes or what makes the most sense? And probably tap into Maria's marketing knowledge a little bit as well. And Isaac had offered his marketing people. So we just might, we went through and talked a little bit, but haven't designed anything yet. So.
Okay. So still outstanding. And that's, I think, really probably our priority
I
at
think
this
it
point,
needs
besides
done.
other
Yes.
applications coming in. But it's good to hear the business retention meetings and those sorts of things that we're getting a little bit of exposure in that environment as well.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit as well about notifying, how we notify some of the real estate people. But as I've been thinking about some inquiries we've had here at the city for some new business ventures in the downtown area. Now that we've opened it up, I think that some of that is very feasible. So I haven't spread the word a whole lot yet because, I haven't had that many inquiries, but enough that I think if we're ready to go in that way, it's definitely time and where people are ready to make some investment.
I was just gonna say, it would be nice also to reach out just as a reminder with a letter, maybe from the AIF board to, different companies and industries and businesses and to let them know what is available. And it is available if you're planning on expanding or planning on increasing machinery or costs or whatnot. So
Yeah, because really it is just now getting out mostly to the industries still, like we had always done and not really throwing it out there. But yeah, I think that needs to be a priority. I agree.
Obviously this isn't all on you. What do you need from this group to get us over the finish line with that? It's been something that we've, probably talked about for a while.
Yeah.
And I feel this is just another
No,
thing
it's
for
just,
you.
yes, everybody's been busy. I think really finalizing some of the wording on how to make it clear and concise. Maria would be a good help with that, and Isaac's, whoever he uses for marketing, but just making sure that I like the size that it is because it's just on that narrow, and I think it's a good size. It's just coming up with how to get the word out, but not too much of the info. And so full disclosure, we're in the middle of switching website people here. So we wanted to create a page. So we talked about a QR code, but we need to be able to send it somewhere. And we're in the middle of that website transition. We're not in the middle, we're just at the beginning. So we didn't have a place to do the QR code, which I thought would be just a great, instead of putting so much many words, having that on there. So we were kind of waiting on that too, but I think we need to at least even get something temporarily. And then when we can get a page set up for AIF, that it goes directly there, that we could do that
Do you
after
want me
that.
to connect with Isaac and see what role I would play, since he's got a marketing person working on that?
Yeah, I don't know who he's got. He said that to us in the email today, and he and I had looked at it, but that was the first that I'd heard that. So,
I'll just send him.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll copy you on that.
yeah, absolutely, Maria. That would be a huge help.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously not here to defend himself, but not having Isaac here, but a lot rides on just him. And I think that's an opportunity for us as a group, is to not
Yeah.
let so much rely on one person trying to drive all the stuff,
and
or two
he's
people
been,
like yourself.
like I said, so busy. It's just, there's just been a lot going on both ends, but it definitely does need to be a priority if we're going to spread the word.
So the established organizations in the community, we can use those people also? Chamber,
Yeah,
downtown groups, I mean, they can do a lot of that.
they can really market some of that.
Broadcasting for
Yeah,
us.
absolutely.
They're always looking for something to tell their members. To
Value add.
to
Yes.
validate what they're doing, so.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what we're truly talking about is we got the marketing material, but we need to have the full plan of distribution of the message. I mean, that's really what we're saying.
Yeah.
So I'm hearing, Maria, you might email Isaac to try to maybe kickstart some of that
Yeah.
conversation. Maybe if you do that, that will help take that pressure off of him, and we can, move it forward. If you're willing to do so.
Yep. I will do that in a note.
All right, anything else on the plan, marketing material development?
I'll just say I will, after Friday, I'll have more time to do stuff, so if anybody has ideas, bounces it off me, then I'd like to be more proactive in this regard as well, because I felt our pain for the last year
Are you like fully retiring?
fully.
Good time.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
There's a kerosene available. I mean,
I missed the election.
So we'll say that the marketing team, Jerry, myself, Isaac, and his team. Rita, you want to be in on that, or do you want to?
Yeah, I'll be a part of it for sure. I don't know how much I can add, but yeah, definitely.
Thank you. That's a great idea.
All right. I like it. Forward progress. Okay. We'll move on to standard work for the post-approval process by the board. I will reach back out to Isaac. I know in the minutes in the last board meeting, we talked about him providing us with those steps back to the full board so that I would take it and put it into a checklist or something of that nature. I don't think I saw that come through from him, so I'll reach out to him and see if I can get what those process steps look like. And if we don't have it, it hasn't been created, then I'll work with him on rating something to get it done.
And those were the steps once it's been awarded.
Correct.
Okay.
Which was kind of where we lost, a month or so at the back end of that.
Yeah.
Role confusion, who was doing what those steps were, all that needs to be lined out. All right, anything else as it relates to old business? If not, we'll move on to new business, new applications. Is anybody aware of any new applications? I know Isaac had mentioned in his email, he's been having some conversation. There might be some interested. Any others from the group? Okay. All right, we'll move on. Officer discussion. So I believe it was this time last year, or maybe in July, that we actually elected officers out of this group, and we talked about having a yearly process where we did that. Am I making that up yearly? That's how you got to the
We talked
position.
about that. I believe we talked about a yearly
Because
change
you were out
of
of the room.
officers.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
There's
think
only
that's-
one person that listens, and here it's Maria. She's like, yes, a year ago we had this conversation.
yeah. So,
I have may I make a motion?
sure.
I move that we keep the positions that have been established for one more year as they are.
Lock it in.
I'll second that.
Yep.
We have a motion and a second to keep the officers the same as existing. Discussion.
Kyle?
Did you just get railroaded? I feel like that
Well,
turned.
that happened all the time.
Last year.
That's fine.
Okay.
Any other discussion on that? Going once, going twice. Okay, guess I'm in it too, I think. Motion on the table to keep the officers the same as is. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion's carried. Any other new business for the group today? Any other business for the group today? All right, moving on to reports. Retha's provided us reports for the two outstanding loans as well as the fund itself in your packet. Any discussion on those reports? I don't know that we've ever had a motion to accept the report. It's probably something we should be doing.
Are these just corrections over here? What is it? Pennies on the principal, like for Food Alive.
I'm not sure. Ryan gave that to me, and I don't know,
Oh,
maybe on the cents.
yeah, you're right.
That's like the only two HPIs.
The question we can ask him.
Mine is thorough because we're talking, if it's a penny.
Yeah.
Most of them, yeah.
Did we tell you guys that we went into and did a business retention at Foods Alive? And they are still growing and doing amazing.
Good.
They, and he credited this group and this loan to really help them get in the building where they are, the space to grow. They're doing some remodeling there. And you were on that one, weren't you? Yeah, I think he said it a few times, like this really,
And he did offer to give a testimonial for
Good.
other businesses that.
That's great.
Interested.
yeah, they were
And I
thrilled.
think, Project Terminal will as well.
I think you did ask him, or somebody did.
And wonderful closing.
Are you good?
Yeah.
Anything else as it relates to the reports for the group? We need to approve them as presented. I've done that in the past, but
You haven't?
no. It seems like we probably should.
Yeah, if everybody feels fine, I think it's a.
Move that we approve the reports as presented.
Whatever. We have a motion and a second to approve the reports as presented. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion's carried. Take those for myself. All right, anything else for the good of the order?
I have a question, being a newer member of the board. Are nonprofits, do we look at nonprofits, lend money to?
I don't remember anything that has changed. Correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think we addressed that in anything new. Which leads me back to a historic conversation that in the past we specifically said no to nonprofit organizations. For whatever reason, I don't have that background, but we said no, and there were two larger nonprofit organizations in town, which you might be able to understand who those are, that came at some point and thought maybe this would fit, the group decided not to. Not that that's right or wrong, but historically, that's
Okay.
the decision. Do we need to investigate more potentially?
No, I just need a little clarification. Satisfied.
Got it. Anything else? The group. Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second. Motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion's carried. We're adjourned at 16:26.
The fastest meeting we've ever had.
Well, anything
Council
accomplished?
meeting.